insurance. Insurance, in fact, is another product which we have in the mobility space. And if you look at the enterprise mobility that we do, we actually have some corporate purchase programs, bring your own devices. So we run various programs for enterprise customers. So if you have any enterprise mobility requirements, please do talk to us. We have a relationship with the third-party app developers. So if you want anything to be customized for your organization, we'll be more than happy to do so. Right? So that brings us to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rangmani. And ladies and gentlemen, we now start off with our partner sessions. One request to all our presenters is that you have been given a time slot, and I have been given the job of being the timekeeper. Unfortunately, that is not a very pleasant task. So one request is try and stick to your time schedule. I would also suggest that you keep at least about 3 minutes towards the end for a Q&A between the audience and yourself. So ladies and gentlemen, we start off by welcoming on stage Mr. Barun Lala, Director, Channel HPE India. He is going to be speaking about how to digitally transform your business. HPE. So, ladies and gentlemen, please pay careful attention, because the case studies, the discussions out here could be something which you can identify with. You could have been facing that problem. You are free to ask questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Barun Lala. Please get your hands together as Mr. Barun Lala joins us on stage.
A very good morning to all of you. Pardon my voice because I am really struggling over the last few days with a viral infection. So, but I thought that it is important to come here and address all of you. What I am going to do is I am going to set the context as to what is happening in our country with respect to digital disruption. And what is it that you need to do for your respective organization? And I am not going to touch on any one of the products per se, but in terms of the changing landscape, what is it that you need to do to make your organization more agile? So that is going to be my topic of the presentation. This is exactly what is actually happening. The industry is transitioning from wired to wireless, and it is also leading to multiple different disruptive technologies. Companies are getting formed which we have not heard of, and they are actually changing our life, dramatically. This is my 20th year in Hewlett-Packard, and I can tell you the kind of transition which I am seeing in the last 12 to 18 months, I have not seen it in the last 19 years. So we need to take stock as to what are the things which are happening, and what is how it is changing in India, and what is the relevance in across the world as well. Digital disruption. Digital disruption is something like orange is the new yellow. Okay, you will very soon start hearing standing is the new sitting. Okay, and believe me, these are the kind of statements which I have not heard in recent times. It is just happening, as I travel and I keep reading, I am seeing such transition coming into our daily life. First of all, I did not realize, being in India, that the total number of mobile subscribers worldwide has actually crossed the number of people who live on earth. I never realized that. Second important thing which is actually happening in the industry is happening around the smartphones and IoT devices. And this is not listed here, but I just want to share with you some statistics. In another 4 years, that is by 2020, we are going to have close to 34 billion devices across the globe, out of which 10 billion devices will be on smartphones and balance 24 billion devices are going to be on IoT devices and sensors, which means that we cannot ignore what is actually going to happen in the world of IoT, and we need to take cognizance of the fact that IoT is going to have a very dominating effect in the way that we are going to do IT and IT transformation within our respective organization. What are the other highlights? The other highlights is, normally when we use our smartphones, we see that, as we are coming here, we are creating data. This data, what we are creating today, is getting created in a very unstructured format and not structured format anymore. Now, did you realize one thing? The data from 2005 to 2015, it grew from 2.8 zettabytes to 4 zettabytes. And in the next 5 years, it is expected that this data, which grew from 2.8 to 4, is actually going to grow to 40 zettabytes in the next 5 years. Now, this is a realization. Realization is that the data is going to grow. But for a time being, if you just look back and figure out what is actually happening in the world of storage, it is very interesting, and it's a very contradictory statement that while the data is going to grow by 10 times in the next 5 years, a very interesting thing happened in the year 2014, end of year 2014, which we also did not realize. The number of drives which stores this data, it has actually started to come down. So on one side, we are saying that the data is going to grow 10 times, and on the other side, we are saying that the number of drives which stores this data, it is actually going to come down, and that has happened in the year 2014 end. So all these landscapes are very different to what we are actually adapted to over the last decade or so. And you will see that a lot of these things are going to impact all of us. I am 100% sure all of you are going through this word of smack, and I don't want to repeat it, but I can only tell you that the small I is going to have a very big impact. And there's a sixth dimension which is coming up, and this I is nothing but Internet of Everything. And there is another word which you may like to write down now, is R, which is robotics, which is going to change the way we function in our daily life. This is another interesting phenomena, and I must emphasize on that. India is well on its way to becoming the largest digitized countries in the world. And guess what? 2 months back, there was a survey, and we are at number 79 in the world. And it is expected that in the next 3 years, we are going to become the largest digitized country in the world, which means that the pace at which the change or transformation is going to happen in India is going to be much faster than any other country in the world. And you will see these transitions coming in our daily life. So how do we see India? India is a land of great opportunity. And we are very fortunate that we are actually living through this transition, and we are living through this transition which is changing all our life, and it is very exciting to be here, as we discuss and present. So what is it in store for us in the next decade? I browsed through this article on a flight, and this is a very interesting world map. It talks about the GDP growth which is going to happen in the next 8 years. By 2024, it is expected that India economy will be the largest, fastest moving economy in the world. But guess what? When I was reading the article, I was actually surprised that Kenya is going to be the next fastest growing economy in the world, and I did not realize it. So that is another transition and transformation which is actually happening in this world. And all this, I correlated it with the presentation from Gartner. This is a Gartner presentation which I have taken from October 2015, the Gartner Symposium which happened in Orlando. And this is a very interesting insight which tells us as to what are the things which are happening in the world which is going to impact us in the very near future, either by 2018 or by 2020. If you see the last point is very interesting. We are talking about cyber security, we are talking about risk mitigation, but if you see the last line, you see that, if some of you have migrated to cloud, we always feel apprehensive that if there is a security breach, it will be by the service provider. But the report goes on to say that more than 95% of the security breaches which are going to happen, it is going to happen because of the customer, because of the internal people within ourselves, and hence, we need to take stock of that. The other thing which is very, very important is that very soon we are going to have robo-managers, right? And if you see some of these points, and I am not going to go into each one of point, because I have already been told that I need to restrict myself, in terms of how many number of minutes that I can talk to you. But if you see, there is a very interesting point in this particular chart, which says that by 2020, software agents are going to overrule your decisions as you go forward. Now, what does it mean? And I will give you a live example. Suppose you have bought a stock of a company, right? And it is there in your portfolio. There will be applications or agents which are going to monitor this stock on a real-time basis, okay? And it will find out on the 52-week high or 52-week low. And if you can just give a parameter that as long as it hits the 52-week high, it will automatically go and sell the stock and buy it when it is at a 52-week low. So this kind of artificial intelligence is going to come in our daily life, which means that we need to see how best we can use artificial intelligence in taking informed decisions. This is a very, very interesting slide. This slide talks about the changing landscape of the CIOs. This slide talks about the dependence of the CEOs on the CIOs and how it is actually changing. As I see it, when I used to go to the customer earlier, I used to typically meet the traditional CIO. When I go to the customer today, I see very weird cards. I have met customers who call themselves DOs, they are digital officers. I have seen customers who call themselves KOs, they are knowledge officers. So what I see is that your job as the CIO is getting blended. You are actually doing now 4 jobs rolled into one, which means that you need to get ready with the transition which is actually happening in the industry. There is a recent study done by KPMG as late as yesterday evening, which says that because of this changing landscape, it is not enough to train internal IT and reskill them. Because of the changing landscape, it is becoming inevitable that you need to hire the right skills from the market to align to the right technologies within your organization. And it is going to have a tremendous amount of impact in your go-to market. Just excuse me. Thanks, Bhushan. So what is it? What is it that is happening? This is called the idea economy, where everything is digitally connected. Everything has to happen at the speed of light, and at the same time, you need to mitigate the risk of doing business. And in order to do this changing landscape, the idea and philosophy is that these are the 4 pillars which you need to always continuously keep in mind as you change the landscape within your data center. As you change the landscape, the way you used to work traditionally, way you are going to work in the changing landscape of cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, public cloud, it is going to bring in complexity within your data center, and you need to see that what are the right technologies which are there for you to adopt to this changing lifestyle. So what I've done is, I've just captured one slide which talks about the transition which is actually happening in your respective industry in terms of traditional IT and the complexities of going forward in the changing landscape. And this will actually elaborate the way each one of these traditional areas are actually changing in your own environment without you actually getting to know or getting to feel about it while it is continuously transitioning. So what is Hewlett-Packard Enterprise? Hewlett-Packard Enterprise represents technology, and we firmly believe that we create technologies which are in the forefront of technology, and in each one of the Gartner Magic Quadrant you will find that HP is leading the race. But one of the most important thing for you to note, and I have highlighted with a great green, and I have also, if you see the last portion of integrated systems, this is a slide which I got yesterday night, and therefore you will see that I was not able to paste it properly. This is a changing landscape on the integrated systems. This came in yesterday night. HP is perceived to be the leader, a visionary in the integrated system landscape.